All right, ladies and gentlemen, she's a classic. Buffy Sainte-Marie is here. If you're not familiar with Buffy's story, it'll blow your mind. Here's her bio.
George, there's really no question about it. Buffy Sainte-Marie is a Canadian icon. Born on a Cree reserve in Saskatchewan, she was orphaned, then adopted and raised by relatives in the U.S. By the early 60s, she graduated college and hit the road as a musician and became a force in the Greenwich Village folk scene. In fact, her song, Universal Soldier, became an anthem for the peace movement.
He's the one who must decide who's to live and who's to die.
But Buffy's anti-war lyrics and her fight for Aboriginal rights didn't go over so well with the powers that be. And during the Johnson-Nixon years, her songs were blacklisted. But she kept making music, even did her own TV specials, scored movies, and of course, a lot of you remember her from her 5 years on Sesame Street. Buffy also co-wrote that Academy Award-winning song, Up Where We Belong.
Love lift us up where we belong.
In all, she's released 18 solo albums, including her latest, Running for the Drum. And now she's performing at the National Aboriginal Achievement Awards right here in Canada.
Ladies and gentlemen, Buffy Sainte-Marie. Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, thanks.
Good.
A lot of people don't know this, but you were the last person to touch the torch, to light the torch. Weren't you in Vancouver?
I received the torch and
We mean the Olympic torch, we don't mean the torch.
the Olympic torch. Yeah, I was the last person to receive it and to light the cauldron at the Aboriginal Pavilion. And then Wayne Gretzky lit his torch and
Took it off from there.
And ran into the stadium. I'm glad I didn't have to run all those steps.
So technically you were the second last person then to light the torch.
Second last, there you go.
All right, that's fine. I can't believe it when I heard Jen telling the story and I was reading about you again. It's been 13 years since you put out a proper record. Did the spirit find you? Why now?
Would you have put out a record during the Bush years?
Well, I'm a fan of punk rock, so I would have put out a record a year.
No, it was a matter really of having the time and wanting to go on the road, because there's no sense putting out an album unless you are willing to go on the road. And we just spent a month in Europe with my new band, and it was really fun. It was just a matter of when you're a truly independent artist, as I am, of having the songs together and wanting to put them out and being willing to tour. So
that's a big commitment to get out there and sell it, isn't it?
It is, yeah, but it's fun. You have to be into it, otherwise it doesn't make any sense. So I record at home. I'm always recording and always writing, and every now and then I'll put them together and put it out as a professional package. But you know, artists are artists all the time. It's not. It's not like when you don't see us is when we're the most creative, and when you do see us, we don't have time to be creative.
Sure.
So.
You live on a goat farm in Hawaii, is that true?
I do. I live on a farm and I raise goats. I have 27 goats and 2 horses and a kitty cat.
Now,
and a bunch of chickens.
At what point do you look at 22 goats and say, I need 5 more? How does that happen? Where do you that 27 is a lot of goats.
Honey, you got to talk to the billy goat. He decides these things.
Yeah, I guess there isn't Planned Parenthood with goats, are there? It's not really their bit.
No, nah, it doesn't work like that.
When I'd mentioned to people, some of my friends, that you were coming on the show, they're all very excited. One reason was Sesame Street, which we'll talk about later. But also, one of the things that seems to resonate with people, and I wondered if it, at this stage of your career, having done it for so long, if you still feel it, which was when you burst onto the scene initially, I mean, you were giving a voice to people that people hadn't heard before in this way. Have you still felt that over the course of your career?
I have, and I never thought that I was going to last in show business. I didn't think I was that much of a singer. As a matter of fact, I had my degree in Oriental philosophy and teaching, and I thought I was going to go to India and continue studying art and creativity and the creator. But I tried my luck at singing, and it was just the perfect timing in the 60s in Greenwich Village. And, you know, the window was open just for a little while for really unusual artists. And I never expected to be a big deal or to have a career in le showbiz. But I was very, very lucky. And the way that I could be strong enough, and I was real shy, lots of stage fright, unless I concentrated on what the songs were about. And I so believed that people deserved a chance to hear kind of what seemed obvious to me, but and also, it was happening in the streets, but it wasn't being said. You know, things like the content of Universal Soldier, Little Wheel Spin and Spin, you know, which is about the same greed that we see today. Classic themes, you know, all the Native American, all the First Nations, all the Aboriginal themes. I knew they weren't going to hear them anyplace else. So that gave me the courage to just get on a stage, because I felt like I was telling them something and giving them a gift, and I expected not to be there very long. And that'll prop up your courage if you think you're not going to have to do it forever.
That's right. It's one step at a time, right?
Yeah, but it's lasted a long time. And there still haven't been that many people stepping up to the plate and addressing those universal issues that seem to be portrayed in folk music. See, I wasn't a folk singer, ever. I mean, other people at the same time were. They were singing 400-year-old folk songs, right? And I sang a few of those, but most of them I had written. And what was wonderful for me to be around that kind of music was that this was music that lasted a long time. It was about universal themes that make sense to everybody. It would cross language barriers. That kind of music would last like an antique chair would last, because people would treasure it year after year. And that was really a nice example for a college girl to have when she was sharing songs with people. Some were protest songs, some were big fat love songs, some were country songs or just for fun. But the protest songs seem to be the ones that I'm most associated with in the public eye, even though it's the love songs that have kept me able to be an artist, you know, and not have to take another job.
Wait, and you can't write a protest song every time, right? Because if you do that, eventually, for right reasons or wrong reasons, generally wrong reasons, the audience will tune out. The audience needs to hear some range. Did you ever feel like you were too closely associated with that girl who writes the fight songs?
Well, I never thought of them as fight songs. I thought of them kind of as peace songs and informative songs. I got into an awful lot of trouble over them, but that too surprised me because I didn't know that there was such a thing as a blacklist of, you know, or denial of airplay. I didn't know about any of that until it was far too late to do anything about it.
You actually had one of those really cool experiences which most people don't get to do. You got to read your own FBI file. There was an FBI file on you, wasn't there? What was it? What did you find? NCIA. What was it like when you did you learn stuff about yourself?
That is such a crock. Your FBI files and the Freedom of Information Act is a lot of bull. Yeah. I found out from broadcasters, you know, like 20 years after the fact, that my career had literally been drowned.
You were blacklisted during the Nixon years.
I was blacklisted during the Johnson and the Nixon years. I think Johnson probably for Universal Soldier, and Nixon, you know, Wounded Knee was going on during the Nixon years. And, you know, it wasn't about racism, it was about uranium and water rights, and it's the same thing today, right? My FBI files are, that's when I discovered how fat a magic marker can be. Because anything valuable is marked out. Yeah. So all I learned in actually seeing my FBI files, and I've never seen my CIA files, all I learned was that I do have a file, that they were spying on me, and that I had never broken the law. But there were letters also in the FBI files. One was from a woman who wanted to know, you know, about Buffy Sainte-Marie, do you have a file on her? And they wrote back and they said, we can't tell you what's in it, but absolutely we have a file on her. So, you know, it's just weird. It's
so bizarre.
It is bizarre.
Right,
it is bizarre.
We alluded to it. A lot of people, you know, came to know you through Sesame Street. We're going to come back and talk about that with Buffy Sainte-Marie right after this.
I love Sesame Street so much. They just were, they were just playing on the side of children. They never stereotyped me.